This is insane, and there's no Aatrox ban, there's no Urgot ban, the Talia's been taken away. There's 5 junglers now missing, and we know that Score's got a champion Ocean, but where does Sword go? Sorry, no, where does Tarzan go?
And remember, Griffin are opting into it. They're opting into banning. They did not need to ban Gragas, but of course, a very famous pick for Score. So far, the Kindred is banned, the Gragas is banned. Those are the 2 most well-known picks. We're going to see one other ban, and this says a lot about priority. Remember, Tahm Kench unnerfed on this patch. It is patch 8.15, guys, not 8.16 or 17. And Aatrox priority still sky high over Tahm Kench, over Ryze, over a pick like Urgot. We will have Aatrox first pick, most likely for mid, but it can be played top lane as well.
And the crazy thing is, Yukel's been spamming it in solo queue, but this is another thing that everyone's been spamming. The Urgot to be picked up first round by Griffin.
Now, where will the Urgot be going? Because funnily enough, in Korea, there's rumors of Urgot mid lane. They're going to see a very early Zac, but remember that Zac is a champion that without priority can be invaded and just have a terrible time in the early game. Is there the champion pool to do that? One pertinent question. The Urgot is known as a winning matchup into basically every top laner. In Korea, it's considered that if you blind pick Urgot top, you win every lane, you take Unsealed Spellbook, you win harder with an Ignite for a turret dive, and you're very strong in a 1-3-1. Basically a super Jace is one way to think about it in terms of top lane priority. AT respond with Scores, reliable Sejuani, his most played this season, and they also take away the Alistar.
And this is a crazy pick that's fallen all the way through draft. The Tahm Kench to be locked down by Lehens. Not necessarily a champion that Lehens is known for, but still, remember guys, this is 8.15. This is pre-Devour nerf, so he's going to be gobbling up all of his carries whenever he needs to.
Very, very strong against pick comps, just strong as a power pick because it's 8.15 like you mentioned. But consider that Griffin have got, let's put them in air quotes, OP champions in terms of Urgot and Tahm Kench. These could have been first picks in any other draft. And KT seem to have got what KT wanted because they haven't been necessarily following that priority. Urgot is considered basically the strongest overall champion that could be selected on a 6.15 among pros, but now we're on stage. Now games are different to scrims, and even though they have those air quotes OP champions, because they're unexplored, only 2 games of Tahm Kench on the season when we've got other players who played 14 for Lehens, and of course this first time Urgot.
Well, you can see the bans coming in. That Aurelia that you spoke about is not going to be seen this game because it is banned 4th by KT Rolster. Griffin with the LeBlanc taken away first, but we'll see whether Zoe gets a look at here. Both Chovy and Yukel, big fans of that champion, but another one making a resurgence is the Syndra, actually buffed on 8.15, of course. And
a big blind pick in China, specifically for Rookie, and of course a lot of Korean pros will look to Rookie for what's good. So in terms of blind mid lane picks, we see the Syndra taken away. I imagine Griffin will take Ryze, hoping it's an Aatrox mid lane matchup. Be very interested to see Aatrox versus Urgot top lane if we were to get that. You'll notice a Sivir ban. This is not targeted deft, of course, famous for his pentakill in the LPL Spring Final on the Sivir. But these tier lists are changing. Consider a week ago, 3 weeks ago when we had the semifinal, it would have been madness to see Sivir ban when Ashe is still available.
Exactly, and that could certainly be the pick here for Griffin if they want to go for it. That will certainly leave things up in the air as far as where that Urgot is going. But good God, Viper has been playing about 1 billion games with Kai'Sa in solo queue. Remember, he's about 3rd at the moment. Insta-up! What? Papa Smithy, is it our birthday? And the Victor coming in for Yukel. This is such an old pick for both Deft and Yukel right now.
And buffed on this patch is the Victor with the longer range on the W. Not, of course, the gold changes you see on PvE in the new patch notes.
Oh my God.
Wave clear mid lane. We're protecting the Jinx, baby. She's going big. Deft's Jinx was undefeated in Korea before he finally lost in LPL Summer 2015. So 3 years of his career, he was undefeated on Jinx. This is that pick that people wonder about. Notice this is an Urgot mid lane. This is going to be Cho'Gath top lane. And I mentioned already that the wheels are turning. If you just zoomed forward in a month's time and said, I'll watch the semifinals and the final, you would wonder what the hell happened.
Exactly. I'm already losing my mind based on the last 3 picks in the draft, which have just been ridiculous. I like the adaptation though, moving the Urgot into the mid lane, giving Sword his Cho'Gath once again. This is such a beefy composition, and it always feels like there's a clock ticking down if there's a Kai'Sa in the game.
Confirmation, it will be Cho'Gath top. Again, the murmurs of Urgot mid become a reality. I would have assumed situationally into something like a melee champion. He bosses them topside. Why not mid lane? It's against a ranged champion. We see the handshakes here, the KT coaching staff taking the hands of CV Max, that Royal Roader coach that so many people are saying reminds them of great coaches of LCK past. It's all about the present right now, though. KT Rolster versus Griffin. This is a hyper-focused draft on what has happened and developed outside of LCK. Madness 3 weeks ago. There's sense to the madness 3 weeks later on this grand final stage.
And it's very different to what KT Rolster used to defeat Griffin last time around. It was a focus almost purely on Lahens last time. Now, with the Tarzan focus in the early bans, we'll see whether it's still going to come up KT Rolster, but damn, I don't actually care, Papa Smithy, because we get Jinx in the hands of Deft. We get the Kai'Sa coming out from Viper. We knew that this has been his power pick, and we have that Urgot to see whether Korea can actually do it, as well as those of the LPL. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the finals time. Let's get into game number 1 right now. Like we have a slight delay getting into the game in the KT booth, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't be a final without a little bit more time to talk about it, Papa Smithy.
Really excited to get into it, and let's load up the overlays to remind us the champions one more time. There, we got it there.
Did we get it though? Because I don't think he's playing Tom Kench.
Hey, Tom Kench top. Is that a weird thing compared to some of the other stuff we got?
Oh, hell no. Do you remember Evo back in the day? Evi? He was a Japanese player. It was absolutely fantastic Tom Kench top.
I remember our best Tom Kench top. That was Smev.
Yeah.
Smev was a legendary Tom Kench top on the Rocks Tigers. Who knows?
Many years ago now.
Maybe after the nerfs, we'll see some Tom Kench top. I know people enjoy to play it. We're getting the confirmation that Marta's mouse, unfortunately, acting up a little bit, so hopefully we'll be able to get into the game soon. Don't worry, if you look at the front of the booze, that's a little refresher as to what champions are being played.
And we've got the Urgot in the mid lane. It's been a long time since I've actually cast a game of Urgot mid. Last time was back in the OPL Pub Smithy a few years ago.
Which Urgot was it? Old Urgot?
It was old Urgot, yeah. It was Manamune Urgot.
Manamune Urgot, I remember as Big Fat LP. One of his last big picks was the Urgot. I remember he got nerfed the mechanic where you could use it from crazy range. Hopefully we can talk about today's Urgot, not so much the Tom Kench top. I'm pretty sure that's not happening.
But at least this is going to be the jungle matchup, as Tarzan and Score did manage to find some relatively high-tier junglers, despite the fact that we've had them pretty much stripped of any other options in the draft.
We are going to see the Urgot, though. I think there's still going to be an unsealed spellbook on, and we'll talk more about that in-game. Yukao kind of out of nowhere with the victim. Kuro actually in the stadium watching on and probably nodding his head. Death's Jinx, a legendary pick on a legendary 80 carry.
Especially here in Korea as well. I mean, almost undefeated if you look back in time for his tirade on the champion. His hypercarry play was always what he was known for back before he was even on KT Rolster.
Wait, 2 Tom Kenches?
Oh my goodness, what does it mean?
Is 5th game blind pick? I don't think so.
Oh, on the same team as well?
You gotta laugh sometimes.
Yeah, 5th game all for one. That's the new one-up strategy for the game 5. A game that we certainly won here at the LCK Finals for summer 2018. Looks like Marta may have sorted himself out, as you can see. Still, certainly some smiles on the faces of the players in the KT booth.
If we're going to have any flubs and flusters, let's have them now before the series starts. This could be a 5-game epic. It could also be a 3-game series. Again, we'll talk about it when the game actually starts, but it's a final where it feels like every piece of paper I referred to, every VOD from the past, could mean so little, and then we get a first-game draft that basically says, hey, all those tendencies, all that history, all those expectations as to what people will pick, so much of the normal stuff went unpicked, and it's all about the new stuff for what feels like a one-day meta.
Yeah, and we recently had an interview, Papa Smithy, and I think that your opinion has changed about the victor of the final about 3 times since then. It's so hard to predict how this one is going to go because you look on paper, says KT. You look at all of the intangibles, it says Griffin. I'd like to quote R. Kelly on this one. When it comes to KT winning, I mean, my mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes, Papa Smithy.
Don't remember that R. Kelly KT Rolster song, but I'll work with you for this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it is finally time. Game 1, the LCK Finals for summer. Let's go. I actually thought that the crowd might be a little bit quieter here for this particular one when it comes to Griffin, because that fan vote was out of control, but still, so many people raising their voices for the Royal Roaders. They still have to do it. In
the audience, I'd say it's at least, I'd say 3-2. KT, I would say 60-70% of the fans here, KT fans, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Both in terms of their length of time as an aura, KT and esports orgs, it's the StarCraft days, of course, and League of Legends. From basically the start, before the LCS era started, KT already had a professional League of Legends team. Griffin, they're just developing their fans as they go, and they certainly are getting them, but it's only been 1 season. If you're running a Royal Road as a single player, there's brands around you for people to really fall back on. For Griffin, everyone is new.
Well, let's have a look at how these lanes are going to fare. Remember, this is a pretty easy one to call because KT Rolster, if they're winning in the early game, you generally feel like it's going to be a KT Rolster game. If Griffin get ahead early, it's very, very hard to come back because even if they're losing, Griffin feels like they're winning.
Again, your preparation before playoffs started, when you're thinking about this match, okay, this could be a potential final, KT versus Griffin, you think, Smeb, pretty big advantage in the 1v1 top. He's very good at playing priority top laners. Rumble is probably his most famous pick. Very good at playing with priority. And Sword has kind of been losing the minimum ever since Aatrox was forced out of the meta. Once the Aatrox was forced out, we couldn't blind pick old Aatrox. He was very much more in the farm it out on Cho'Gath side of things. So, top side advantage, KT. Bot lane, Deft and Mata. Legendary duo, very good early game laning compared to Viper and Lehens, where Viper's more about, when he's on an 80 carry, getting to the late game on 2 or 3 items. This Kai'Sa could be an AP Kai'Sa waiting for 3 items, so priority bot lane. And then you factor in both Score and Tarzan is kind of a wash. They're both great junglers around priority. 2 priority lanes, Score jungling around a strong start. KT get going, KT win. But speaking of getting going, Score's here already.
Yeah, Chovy still holding on to his flash here. As you can see, the stun not going to land, but Chovy's going to have to use the flash to get out of the way. First blood avoided, but a successful gank from Score.
But the thing I was going to get to is so much has changed around the meta in 3 weeks. Korean teams have been able to look to other regions, look to the LPL and other regions, playing scrim those regions. Asia Games happened, and that also affected the tier list a bit. So you get new variables like Urgot, expected to be mostly a top lane pick. It's coming to the mid lane here. I would guess the argument with Urgot mid lane is that, of course, very gankable champion top. If you just let Urgot solo lane against any pick, Korean top laners will say he just basically wins straight up. If it's just a 1v1 laning phase, top lane, your flash is down, very hard to put out that same pressure. The theory is in mid lane, you can, in a shorter lane, still apply pressure, but with the flash down and against a ranged opponent, you can't boss around a melee tank like you could in the top lane.
Yeah, basically frees up the laning phase here for Yukal. Yukal, of course, not too worried, spending that exhaust very, very early on, but still has his flash, so he can play with relative safety. Deft going back very early and getting the double longswords. Should be getting turned into that Stormrazor to go for that 3-item crit build that the Jinx recently had available to her, if we're talking in terms of patch 8.15.
It's just so hard to work out what to unpack next because so much of this needs explanation. What's with the Jinx? Is it an AP or an AD Kai'Sa? Urgot as a champion, as a first pick, as a mid laner, all these things are unexplored. And also the Victor, by Korean standards, has come out of nowhere. So there's really a lot to unpack. So apologies to anyone at home who doesn't instantly get the piece of information they need. If we're going to think holistically, KT do have a draft that is very focused about controlling the back line. They want Def to be able to free run around, and then Gravity Field, Aatrox, and Sejuani both with CC and damage in front of her, and then just fight front to back. But Griffin have a very robust front line because Urgot, he does have weird issues in team fights. He would actually probably prefer to be peeling for Kai'Sa rather than being in the front line, and his damage can be fiercely single target, but he does double as a pretty good tank as well.
Well, I do like KT's draft when it comes to flexibility. And oftentimes we look at compositions and we say, how many things can they do to win a game? And I'm looking at KT's ability to fall. One looks very strong with Smeb on the Aatrox. He can hop into a side lane. You've got plenty of wave clear with the Jinx and the Victor. No worries there at all when it comes to sieging for that matter as well. So KT do have a robust composition. Lahen's going to eat Viper, nothing doing down on the bottom side.
In the late game though, there's one kind of thing that a lot of people wouldn't be able to see because we haven't had Cho'Gath Urgot in a game. Consider that Cho'Gath of top lane tanks, when we had Cho'Gath versus tank, we would always say in a front-to-back team fight, when you're fighting against the enemy tank line and a tank has to die first, Cho'Gath has Feast, so he just feasts a frontliner and your AD carry kills that tank faster. Consider that Feast is going to be paired with the Urgot ultimate for also the ability for further burst, and you can actually kill a tank from half health almost instantly, and then AP Kai'Sa swoops in, and you just straight up win.
Well, Chovy standing very far back. The high value ward there, the control ward in the brush, as you can see. Score was sneaking outside of vision, but not actually going to check that brush here as Chovy finally moves up to the minion wave, but Score paying a lot of attention here to the mid lane. Had expectations that Score might be spending a lot of his time bottom side of the map, but hasn't needed to. Deft has been freely farming up against Viper.
Urgot's E in the mid lane is actually a big enough dash that it can actually be used defensively, so it is useful in that way. So it's not as eminently gankable as Urgot's.
Of the
past, yes. So he is able to walk up. It's going to be pretty much a farm lane here between the two. We all know about Victor pre-first item, which you would love to be that Hex score. Still 1250 on patch 8.15. Going to get pushed in a bit. Not going to have a lot of control. Respecting the potential for Tarzan to swoop in. I guess the most relevant thing in terms of scaling about the early game is that Zac has pretty much got a free pass, even though he's one camp down. We're not seeing all the finals of the past. A year ago, when it was Longzhu versus SKT, it was all about the Zac being targeted by both teams. So far, the Zac getting a free farm phase.
Yeah, hasn't been too bad. Of course, when you ban almost all of the junglers in the game, there is an opportunity to get that done as in goes Score, flashing for it as well. They're looking for Chovy, but Tarzan's here at perfect timing. The ultimate's ticking down. Chovy is still alive. He's going to survive as well as Tarzan now has to get himself out, but that's success for Griffin.
And the flash is only now coming up. It was not available during any of that fight, so he was specks of damage away from finding the first blood. Very good positioning by Tarzan to be there for the counter gank, but we basically say very good positioning. Insert Score or Tarzan's name in. Anytime they play, it is their positioning and the ability to be in the right place at the right time that have been the trademarks of these two junglers.
Yeah, the map movements are just beautiful, but that was so close. You'd almost think the KT were robbed on that one. Good knockup comes in from Smeb, who's looking for the solo here against Sword. Dash forward. Remember, you get a couple of charges when you level it up on this particular patch, and his ultimate is on a shorter cooldown than it is on most other playoffs patches, which is 8.16.
So far that priority hasn't found Score any invades around the red side, so it's not necessarily going to be as big a thing. Was able to pick up the red buff, but apart from that, it has been Zac just comfortably going through his jungle. Let's see when this turret damage starts to come down, because again, we had that stat pre-game that if first turret is taken top lane for either team, it is a 100% win rate in all of Summer.
Yeah. But KT getting most of their turrets on the bottom side of the map, and if anyone has the ability to kill a turret on this team, it is certainly the Jinx from Deft.
Man, there's been so much to talk about in the draft that we've never been able to zoom out and talk about the road here. Of course, a lot of people would have watched the semifinals. If you're joining us late, was KT Rolster for the first time winning the regular season, being first seed, waiting 1 month. They actually beat MVP for first seed 1 month ago, and waiting and watching first the madness of the gauntlet that was won by Griffin, and then the 3-week break against a Griffin team that were down 2-1 against the Africa Freaks. They played one of those Cho'Gath top games with no initiation, and we said, I think this is them done. Africa versus KT in the final. They had Chovy go double legendary, basically 7 kills on the Galio, no deaths, into 8 kills on the Orianna, no deaths. He died 1 time in 5 games. They clutched it in their first season ever in Champions, and now even the meta is throwing in a wrench. This is the furthest point away from where we started the season in terms of expectations you could ever imagine for game 1 of an LCK final.
And I think that it's brilliant that you bring that up, because the way Griffin won against Africa means that you can never count them out in any situation. It was so clutch, and Score's going to steal away the blue buff. Nicely done, Chovy, not going to get that one, and we all know that Urgot is mana hungry.
So much of that trash talk was about the smites, and he got the first one of the day. He'll want to get the last one. That one will no doubt be a bigger thing, but a nice little confidence moment. We talked about invades onto a Zac. Very common strategy. Zac uses his mobility spell. He maxes it first and does damage to camps, maxing that elastic slingshot. So the moment you see him bounce into a camp, you basically have free reign to walk up and say, that's my camp, this is my side of the jungle.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. That's exactly what Score was able to do. You can see Smeb up here building towards his Black Cleaver first. Last time we saw an Aatrox, I believe in competitive, it was Ghostblade picked up over in the LPL is what I saw, but going to be the old school Aatrox build here for Smeb.
Black Cleaver first. It was Black Cleaver into, there's a bot lane. Lehens caught it.
Lehens has to flash very quickly, but Mata flashes on top of him. They really want first blood over here for Depth. The ultimate flies down Lehens, no more mobility available, and there's not a lot of damage, but he still should get taken out. The zap not going to connect. Mata looking for Viper. Smeb teleported in. First blood does go over to Mata, but the double kill comes in as Smeb picks up the next one and survives. Had the ultimate anyway, so he was fine.
KT Rolster sent 5 men bot lane. That's what I was trying to get. 5 men to the bot lane at 10 minutes. They pack up. It's an AP Kai'Sa build. Rageblade first and not Stormrazor. Means she can't fight for a long time. Packing up and going bot lane where you'll get no real resistance from Viper is a good way to get the first blood turret. It's in the bot lane.
Yep, and that's a massive explosion of a lead here for KT as well. It was neck and neck, and now 1.5k. Let's have a look at how it all started.
Unfortunately, we don't zoom back a bit to understand why Lehens was so forward. I imagine it was to push out the wave after a recall. In the end, caught and a 5-man rotation as we see the teleport come in from Smeb. They were never looking for 1 kill. They were looking for the first big objective.
Yeah, you saw Mata actually already, before this even happened, move over to try and take down Viper. He wasn't doing any damage in that fight. It was all too easy for KT to capitalize, and now, with this lead, what can they get done?
And this does harken back to a month ago prediction of this series where win through bot lane or win through top lane. They did end up losing the top lane turret as Cho'Gath was there getting free damage for a long time. But Griffin, when they moved away from awesome dudes, we're talking about the Yasuo, the mages in the bot lane, the non-AD carries, they were frequently about just scaling up. No time for scaling in a game like this as Sword finally showing a bit of aggression. He's getting some friends.
Yeah, we got Lehens coming up with the Abyssal Voyage. Smeb doesn't have the ultimate, remember guys, his flash still on cooldown. He gets kidnapped and he gets destroyed. Sword is going to grab that kill, as now ultimate's going to go wide here from Sword, but Mata comes in. Beautiful flash from Chovy, gets him out of the way. KT still get priority on the turret, but Chovy once again eludes death.
And KT Rolster are the priority team. Give me priority, I'll give you a win, has been Score's mantra for basically his entire time on this super team. KT Rolster were in this building 3 finals ago. That was the last final at the Incheon Samsung World Gymnasium, blown out of the water by SKT on the day 3-0. They're back in the same building. It's a bit eerie for some of these players. Mata, I believe, 0-6 on 2 different teams in this building. They want a game 1 win, and with a priority draft where they grabbed what they wanted, and Griffin have actually moved towards, as we noted in the first round, what is seen as the OPs. The OPs right now are being thwarted by a coherent early rotational style from KT Rolster.
That being said, it's only net them a 100 gold lead at this point in time after that turret was taken. It's not going to be that 1.5k that I was excited about earlier on. It's going to be very, very close still. So Griffin showing us that they can just bide their time. We know that this comp is going to do disgusting things in the late game.
It's so hard to evaluate because so many unique variables are here that whatever anecdotes I have, we've never had these champs together. As Sword pops the righteous glory. Can he actually take him down?
Yeah, Worldender has been popped already here by Smeb, and Sword just looks like he's waiting it out. The slow comes in from the Vorpal spikes. Can't get out of the way. The Umbral Dash is there. Ultimate's still up here, but no, he goes down, and Sword with the perfect timing gets the solo kill.
And now because of teleporting out, Smeb is actually unable to stand up in the 1v1 matchup. Aatrox first picked into Flex top lane. This Cho'Gath matchup is doing more than containment. Usually all Sword can be asked for. He's actually straight up winning.
Yep, and now the top side of the map is falling apart for KT. But they do have priority here on the bottom side, so can they utilize this to get any more Mountain Drake? Feels like a KT Drake to me, Papa.
But our lane assignment's going to be borked by the fact that they can't send Aatrox into Cho'Gath in a long lane. There are ways to work around that, but Yukal's not a teleport mid laner, so the Aatrox needs to find a way to stay relevant. His flash is still 50% off before it's back available.
Yeah, you can see Yukal about 20 CS behind. He can farm waves very quickly now, but he's still sitting on 0-0-0. This Victor pick hasn't necessarily yielded them any results at this stage.
And now you have to ask the question. Now that we've seen a bit and we see there's a lot of parity, you have to ask, well, who do you like in the late game? If it was an AD Kai'Sa, I think there's definitely a lot of ability to say KT Rolster. But now that the game has become, oh, Aatrox has some weird lane assignments. Okay, Victor's picking up farm. It's likely to slow down. Plays into Griffin, known as a late game team fighting team. They have by far the statistically best and cleanest 5v5 team fighting. Had some stats sent to me to confirm that. It passes the eye test. We've seen the team fighting, but it's actually statistically true as well. In the late game, a 3-item AP Kai'Sa is the most fearsome thing you can ever ask for. On patch 8.15, it's all about the lull. Rage Blade, not so good. Even the Nashor's still not there. You want that defensive third item, a Zhonya's or most likely a Banshee Veil, and then you just need hard crowd control, and she'll knock down all the dominoes. Cho'Gath and Zac have hard crowd control in spades.
And Chovy as well has that kill secure of that Fear Beyond Death that you talk about. This might be the time where we see the Urgot as a team fighter.
Alistair rolls in, headbutt pulverized, silence, feast, Urgot ultimate might be dead in half a second.
Even if he does manage to get his ultimate off, even if it is going to be hard, you feast for true damage, and you also Fear Beyond Death for true, like, it's just disgusting.
What stats do you build then if you want to fight front to back? And Jinx comms always scream, get that first person low, get me excited, I'll do the rest. Feels like Griffin will actually be able to knock down those dominoes cleaner than KT Rolster.
Well, still, you have to put your money where your mouth is when it comes to compositions like this. Score moving into the enemy side of the jungle here is Griffin not going to defend that control ward, even though Tarzan was in slingshot range. Now Shelly being considered here by KT. 4 members up here. You've got Aatrox farming on the bottom side, but his teleport is available very close to having that flashback as well. See damage-wise, huge numbers for Sword, who has been very true to his word in this back talk video.
It's very back-ended also. The awkward thing for Smeb is he was doing very well, teleported out, they got the 2 kills, it was worth it for sure, they got first turret blood. Came back with some items, but not really big ticket items because he hadn't stayed ahead, and then Cho'Gath just ran him down, so exacerbated by the TP. Now Griffin walking up.
Yep, all of them are going to get up here as Score just face checks on purpose. Yukal's in there, great gravity field pulls 2 of them in, as there's the flash to get out of the way of the kidnap. Tarzan gets no one, but KT unable to follow up. Yukal gets pulled back, Mata puts himself in the right position, Sword is here to try and get the flank as the teleport comes in. They're away from the Cho'Gath. KT have made it a 4v4 and Smeb turns up with the AoE damage. Chovy goes golden in the middle of the fight and gets the disdain on the Aatrox, who can't do anything. Globlet's now in amongst this fight as Deft will be able to clean them up, and that's the kill. Going over to KT, can they get more? Score looking for the Arctic Assault. They're under the turret now as Devour is going to spit out Sword. Oh! It's a lower cooldown as, oh my god, the damage onto Yukal, and Chovy gets out once again. Def is excited, flashes, gets the second, into the third, no! And Viper's popping off in the back line. This is a Kai'Sa that shouldn't be this strong yet, but he is. He's able to do it. Can he get the 4th? Oh, it's so close to the quadra kill, and Griffin with the god tier team fight.
Both AD carries had so much poise, it looked like Jinx was going to run it over. And then when Jinx got that first kill onto Tom, wanted to kill Viper, Viper had held on to the killer instinct, and with the instinct that only a poised top-tier AD carry can exploit, he wins the team fight, and it's earlier, like you mentioned, than he should truly be able to.
And let's have a look at how it all happened, because I honestly feel like that was a Game 5 moment happening in Game 1. Mata started this one off beautifully.
The setup here for Griffin is not ideal. Sword has most of the gold, he's not in the fight. Chogi's low, and you think surely someone would go down, but because Zac is the only person they can kill, Griffin knows that Jinx won't be excited and able to reposition for a little while, so they can mostly disengage. From here, they're chasing in, and they know one more kill, full health death, the fight's over. So under the turret, the silence is big, they take down one, but I must admit, I think everyone saw this kill come in and thought it was all over, and Viper had other ideas.
Somehow Deft actually picked up tower aggro there. He must have been pretty upset about that one, as this switch around of the aggro, the tower doing so much work here for Griffin, but Viper's positioning exquisite throughout the whole fight.
I think we're going to have to definitely take turns holding shoulders and really offering comfort, because that's the first team fight of this game. Griffin, we know they're exquisite team fighters. KT leveled up so much in that metric as well. And we're talking about just in Game 1. We might have 5 games of this.
I hope so, Papa Smithy. See whether our voices can actually handle it. As Score, he was getting surrounded by Griffin members, as you saw just there in this topside river.
Again, AP Kai'Sa confirmed, in case you guys are wondering what about Rageblade into Stormrazor. It's Stormrazor first. If it's Rageblade first, in Korea, it's only been ability power. See this in the OPL as well. But the Nationals Tooth, the usual third item is a Banshee Veil full AP. There is also other people who will go for 3 evolves and go the Stormrazor as a second or third item. My prediction here is Banshee Veil for more safety, bit of magic resist health, and that overshield, and full AP coming through from Viper, because like we mentioned, there's plenty of hard CC to stack up the plasma before the execute comes in from the Kai'Sa.
Well, as you can see, it's illustrated now that Viper isn't necessarily at his full power level in that last team fight. Def did do a whole lot of extra damage. That being said, Viper did the damage when it counted. Big crits coming in here from Def as they're looking to try and get this siege in. Misses the zap though. And now Def still waiting on that Infinity Edge that on this patch is more cost effective. Not quite as many stats, but is going to be much cheaper to build.
Problem with the Infinity Edge, even though it's cheaper, even though these 3 items, 700 gold was trimmed off the bill. We'll mention that the first day of 8.15. We'll mention it now again on the most recent day of 8.15. Consider that Def's job requires Last Whisper, maybe even Executioner's Calling. You'd prefer to go Lord Dominic's with extra armor penetration, but you probably need the healing reduction to hope to kill Zac. It is really tough in the front-to-back team fights that Jinx usually excels in to out-team fight Griffin. And then we're not even talking about just ability level and team fights we've been treated to by both teams.
Yeah, exactly. First, Dragon is going to go over to Griffin for them. That's going to be traded for the top lane outer turret, but mid lane still getting sieged on here by KT and is very low on the side of Griffin. Score looking for his opportunity. He's in position to get that ult over the wall as Supercharge is going to be used by Viper. That's now on cooldown as Def. Oh man, that does a lot of damage. That Void Seeker, but they're able to lock down the turret. That's the outer ring dead on the side of KT.
Still, that took 23 minutes to accomplish, so that's time that Griffin has used for the scaling. They are not usually a first 3 outer turrets team. We know them as a team in the second round robin when they dropped the Vladimir and stopped Viper from being an initiator. That's what the previous meta did. It allowed Viper to get 2 items and run in on Vlad, still undefeated in his career on the Vladimir. Now he's the finisher. Now he's the AP Kai'Sa. So they're very much about how much time can we buy for Viper to be able to pop off. Sword getting a solo kill. The parity in the mid-game is allowing these turrets to roll down much slower, and it does mean that 35-minute team fights probably decide the game. Kind of the same way that we saw a lot of games between Korea and China go, is that eventually Uzi and the Chinese team wins the 5v5 team fight. KT, most known as 1-3-1, priority, push, and never even need to team fight. While they've had better team fights recently, it is the bread and butter of Griffin.
Let's see what KT decides to do. Now positioning themselves around this Baron buff, just looking to try and clear out vision, which they should be able to do so, despite the fact that Mata is not going to have Def's backup as he gets hit by the Void Seeker, doesn't want to get engaged on by Viper. And it looks like Viper is going for likely the Zhonya's Hourglass build, but could just be sitting on the stopwatch and building that Fiendish Codex into the Banshee's Veil.
And both could definitely come out in quick succession. Here we go, though.
In goes Tarzan. It's a good knockback, though, and he can't really get into position. Abyssal Voyage right on top as Lehens has no one in his belly. That's a kidnap coming in to score. Flashes his way out, but it's a killer instinct from Viper. Flashes forward, gets the first kill, and there's the stopwatch to keep himself alive. Smeb jumps his way in, and the Infernal Chains are going to bring back Lehens. The fight is going front to back, but the topside fight is won by Griffin, and it's a 2-0 as the dust settles.
Tarzan was able to re-engage to the top side and catch Victor in transition. Chovy can both buy time and slowly whittle down people. Doesn't need to build damage outside the Black Cleaver, can go basically full tank. It is truly a one-threat comp on Griffin, but two execute true damage abilities on their tank mid and tank top that will also leverage relevant damage. Watch the replay. This is very hopeful. Mada's one of the best players I've ever seen at disengaging Zax with Thresh or with Alistair. This is what we missed on the top side. Yukal and Chovy. Chovy's not going to kill Yukal. It's just a lot of chip damage. But while that first fight happens, Tarzan says Sword's not going to die, but maybe he'll die now.
Yep, he's going to get headbutted, and Death gets feasted, but he's still going to survive. Perfect zap timing, but there is the Devour. Death not going to get hit by all the bolts of the Q, and that means Viper unable to lock that one down. He was going for the cool guys, don't look at explosions, but he may have had to have a look at that one.
Oh, let's take a deep breath and just look at where the game lies now. Again, only 1,000 gold, so certainly not going to let the gold lead run it off. If they pick up the standing gold of the outer turrets, that will definitely help, but Griffin's siege is not fantastic. Sword's back to full health.
Yeah, it's great positioning, and there's another elastic slingshot that's interrupted. Smeb does get the Infernal Chains. It's really nice work as Tarzan gets his way out. Smeb's still looking for more.
But what are we saying about front to back? Zac or Cho'Gath goes in. They take forever to die. Lehens disengages them. You never get access to that creamy center. You can't take down what you really want to get. You're stuck on all the veggies. The meat is so hard to get to. Frustrating a meal when you're 5 years old. Still frustrating in League of Legends that Jinx just needs, what, 5 items to just kill anyone.
Yeah, it's like a gigantic cabbage with a small meatball in the middle or something like that.
But I just want meatballs, Atlas.
Was your mum that mean? Did she make those? Oh,
you
terrible.
know, I had too much food when I was young. She was probably right.
Yeah, me too, actually. Yukal is going to clear out that top wave, though. You can see the gold still very, very close. 1,000 in favor of Griffin after multiple teamfight victories. But the Banshee's Veil is done. Viper decided that's what he wanted to complete. I thought Zhonya's might come in because he had to use the stopwatch, but not happening here.
When it comes to the Zhonyas, again, you're much more prizing frequent abilities to stasis rather than armor and ability power compared to magic resist, which is much harder to get. So actually you kind of get both if you get the stopwatch and then build Banshee Veil. Cleanly turn it into a Zhonya's, so hard to take down, and we've already had a couple of previews that show, unless KT is inventive, and to their credit they have been, some of their Rise engages have split together Azir team fighting teams in ways that beggar belief, but if they're not creative, you can't kill a frontliner until Feast, an AP Kai'Sa, and the Fear Beyond Death kills your frontline.
Well, here's the flank from Sword that did have vision of it. And the first rupture is not going to land. In goes Tarzan. Great positioning, and Death just eliminated from the fight. It's Viper that grabs that kill. The teleport comes in from Smeb. He'll need to be a god if he's going to get this fight to work in their favor, but they're underneath the turret. Chovy doesn't care. He's got a gargoyle stone plate. He's unkillable, and Griffin give up on KT. They want Baron. Jinx goes down. They can't 5v5 fight. Griffin's going to walk over to Baron. Can KT do anything? Looks like the answer is no here, Papa. They're going to clear out the mid lane of all of these creeps, but they understand that the consistent damage isn't there, and Griffin are just going to eat this Baron for breakfast. At least Sword is definitely going to. AP Kai'Sa, the Beast, secure, speed, a perfect Baron team, and they take it down easily. Let's watch the replay. If it's not Zac, it's Cho'Gath. They don't have map control because the early game has faded. Watch this one. The Void Seeker actually hits Death, which allows a reposition, but also full plasmas onto Death as well. And full plasma plus AP Kai'Sa, goodbye health bar Jinx, no chance. And after that, there was absolutely nothing that KT could do. Even though Griffin hit all of their buttons, everything was great. They knew that they didn't even need to fight KT after that. Unfortunately, KT's buttons don't do damage to Griffin at this point, and that's Zeke's Convergence, Infinity Edge, Jinx in machine gun form. Still, they need more items. Still, they need some armor penetration. You look at the armor and health stacked up, and it is ridiculous
on the side of Griffin. We thought KT was comfortable with the meta champions, and I think if they were played in their standard formation, they would be. But the moment Kai'Sa was left open, Kai'Sa profits the most from CC tanks, and that's what Griffin have in spades.
Well, Griffin now have a lot of vision control around this area. KT with wards in the mid lane itself, but otherwise Griffin controlling the rest of the map. Sword should freely be able to take this bottom outer turret. It's going to be their second of the game only as they continue to stretch this lead forward, and it's feeling hopeless. It feels like finals in the past where KT can't beat SKT, you know, examples like that, because Griffin are just looking like team fight gods today.
I think the last pick, Cho'Gath, really surprised them. Again, there were whispers of mid-game, mid-lane Urgot, but the top lane Urgot was the expectation. Again, I was like, it's a great top laner say, wins every lane. Of course you pick it. You go Unsealed Spellbook and win harder, but you put it mid lane, it doesn't punish as much, but it opens up the Cho'Gath to complement. Tanky front line can't die to a Jinx, and then AP Kai'Sa, and that's where it really comes together. So excellent use of last pick by Griffin.
Yeah. Really beautifully done in the draft phase. We thought the KT had it. They'd thrown out the Victor and the Jinx. They knew exactly what they wanted because those picks happened extraordinarily quickly.
Think of a different game where the last pick is just a mid laner, a control mage, an Orianna, something like that. Orianna versus Victor farm matchup.
Yeah, Ryze was available.
It doesn't work because you don't have that level of tankiness for AP Kai'Sa to guaranteed win you the game, and Jinx kills someone. Jinx cannot kill 3 members of Griffin, and those are the only people she can hit.
Well, speaking of hitting people, Tarzan gets zapped. Still does a fair bit of damage here as Def does have those 3 items that we're talking about. And the last Whisper is now completed. It's 4 items for the Jinx that you want to be looking out for. You mentioned Mortal Reminder or his other options here.
QSS now onto Viper as well. So
he's had that for a while as well, Papa. I'm scared about what's coming next.
I mean, he's not dying unless he really
Well, he's just going to engage a fight underneath the turret here as well. His Banshee's Bell finally gets popped as Marta. The ultimate gets so much value, and Viper sidestep.
Viper's
He's behind. Chovy gets himself onto the turret. Was tanking it for a moment, but he's going to survive. Marta the only one to fall here, but they get the prize that they wanted.
Viper knows he can frontline tank the turret with his stats, but come back with teleport anyway. Here comes Viper. Goodbye, inner turret.
Yeah, inner turret's going to fall. Can they get even more? A Super Mega Death Rocket flies in from Def just to try and help clear out this minion wave. Baron is just going to wear off now. Griffin get a couple of turrets for it towards the end, but it could have been worse for KT.
You just don't see a way back for KT. It's an amazing thing to say when it's a Jinx Victor comp. Both of them obscene scaling. But unless Griffin make a seismic error and lose structures, lose a Baron, and also get wiped, it feels like they're just too tanky.
Well, in goes Tarzan once again. He's going to take a lot of damage as Viper finally able to get some damage into this fight. Takes down the inner turret. As there's the supercharger. Gets himself behind. Chaos Storm's in there. He takes down the Jinx. Doesn't even have to look for it as he's continuing to find even more. She does fall down as Yukao has a lot of damage availability. Can they actually win this fight is the question as Marta, he's playing the front line. The Victor grabs the kill and somehow KT have done it.
Too bold from the side of Griffin. They don't have their top laner, who we mentioned has most of the gold. And in a 4v4, we've seen Aatrox be a passenger every fight. Him zoning away the Cho'Gath was way more valuable than anything you can do in a 5v5. So 4v4, Tarzan goes in. I think KT was just about to give up the turret anyway. They dive in, and you gotta say, the objective trade here, not worth.
Yeah, and Def does fall down in the end, but that Chaos Storm got so much value. KT Rolster just somehow managing to hold on after it was all said and done.
So, a rare misstep in the late game from Griffin does pause the game. Let's see what it does.
It was actually Smed interrupting the teleport as well on the bottom side of the map.
That was very important, so he absolutely did his job. That is one huge Cho'Gath, 10 stacks, by the way. He's now 6 items also. Holy crap. Can we zoom out further, please?
That's a lot of screen real estate. It's like we're saying, yes, this is the super sweet charity skit, everyone.
And you know when you're the AD carry and the team says stop hitting the tank, how do you click on anyone else?
You literally can't.
You can't. It's not even a mistake. There's just no one else you can click on.
He's lumbering. I love the walking animation because it looks like he's going so slow, but he's like a T-Rex.
Well, a very vicious T-Rex is Sword. He now has a Randuin's. Now, I wanted to mention, Lord Dominic's is there for Jinx. So now, maybe there's a way to kill specifically Chovy. I think Chovy probably dies a little bit faster. He doesn't have the Randuin's or the reduced critical strike that's available on that item, so might be susceptible. Also, there's the strategy of Smeb just wasting the time Sword.
Well, he's going to try and do that. You can see just hanging out here in the brush. Unseen at the moment, but does poke his head out. I don't think they saw him. Sword was in the brush himself. It's just a fight for vision control. We mentioned the fact that KT certainly has that one when it comes to the bottom side of the map. Marta able to put down a lot more wards than that of Lehens. And right now you can see on the bottom side, they do have control.
Viper's actually gone into Merc's Scimitar, so has a bit more AD. I believe now he'll have enough to evolve the Q, so this is another way to evolve 3, but it also could have just been a gold value thing, working on a Zeal. So it's going to be a bit of a hodgepodge by there, not full into ability power. I think you do have the ability at the end to kind of massage your build in a different direction, but Viper's a bit of a kindred spirit. Think about the first game of the semifinal when Comet lethality Varus and then sold all his items, and when traditional carry Varus, when the game went a lot longer, didn't have a keystone around it but still needed the items. Ultimate used to check.
Sails by. I wonder how long it's going to sail for in the world of Runeterra. KT, no vision available here as they see the charge up of the Elastic Slingshot. Good Arctic Assault there from Score, but meanwhile on the bottom side of the map, Ukal's getting attacked by Sword. Gargoyle Stoneplate is in there as Score now off on his own, trying to fight Chovy, and the rest of Griffin are just going to get fear beyond death. He's going to pick up the kill on the Piggy, and now Death trying to kite as best he can, but he's just going to go down. This is the Viper show as he's playing frontline. Can Marta kill him? They do manage to take him down. Smeb's gigantic, but he just gets the hell out of the fight. Spots the fact that the Elder Drake has spawned, but Griffin, they've won this one.
I don't think they can win the game, though, with no AD carry. Do they have enough damage to do it? Urgot does decently, but he's not a superstar in that way. They're wasting time on the side as well. No ability to interrupt. Smeb's just trying to buy time.
He's going to, but he's going to die. Remember, the World Ender was on cooldown from that last fight. And that's just going to be him throwing away his life after the teleport. They'll take down the inhibitor. Can they actually win the game here? We've got 20 seconds on the clock of death. No, 9, 8.
They cannot, because Score will come up. He will slow down. He obviously can't repel a push. And from there, the staggering from Smeb was the right decision. Unfortunately, means any hope of a 5v5 around an objective is probably thrown out.
Well, right now, the objective is the Elder Drake. Deft is going to be able to pick up this huge wave of minions. Should almost have that QSS available to him as well after this has been cleaned up. But it's a 2-Drake Elder to come in for Griffin. They're going to be ripping through Nexus turrets. That's the next option for them. Or even the Baron buff as another Super Mega Death Rocket flies in. They're checking the wrong buff, as they'll hear the Elder Drake scream in a few moments.
Nothing they can do about that. It will be picked up. Cho'Gath gets bigger. Problems get bigger for KT Rolster. If we get a replay of that team fight, the big thing to take away is by the end, Viper's just frontlining, auto-attacking. He knows he'll eventually die. Job's done. Because Jinx needs to position and use her passive in order to open up space. And AP Kai'Sa with tanks just goes frontline and kills people.
Well, we're looking at the Hail Mary here from KT Rolster. They want to take down the Baron buff before anyone can actually turn up as Death. Gets tagged by the Void Seeker, now has to watch his position. As in goes Viper. He's going to start the fight yet again, and the ultimate goes wide from Score. Infernal Chains are good onto Lehens, but he's got the Grey Health. Score now finds himself right in the backline. Chaos Storm is great damage on the side of KT, and it's a big knock-up that comes in, but Death is going to die yet again, and it looks like it's the wipe. And Griffin, they've won yet another team fight, and this will be the game.
That's going to be the GG. The death ball with the tanks and the AP Kai'Sa is too damn strong. And Griffin go up 1-0. The Royal Road is very much still on.
It certainly is. This is game 1 of a best of 5, guys. We have to remember that. This has already been such an epic match. I highly doubt we're going to see Viper's Kai'Sa ever again in this series, but damn, it was a treat to watch this game as the Nexus does fall down. Game 1, go to the Royal Roaders in Griffin.
KT Rolster had thought they had put Griffin into the box they wanted. Oh, take that. Oh, take that. We have the strategy to beat the new meta. But Griffin went a step further and flexed the Urgot to mid lane, pivoted and said, we got a second round Kai'Sa. We can go ability power, build unkillable on the entire roster, and there's nothing Jinx can do. Her pea shooter was just nothing in reality when it came to Zac and Urgot and such a robust front line. Meanwhile, Kai'Sa had a field day, 100 range 80 carry, didn't matter, never had to use any sort of kiting because she was just joining her tanks in the front line.
And as you saw here, he's just happy to start fights by himself. You saw the Banshee's Veil was on for basically this whole fight as well. Griffin just looked unstoppable.
Flies in from here. Yukal's Victor was also having similar struggles.
Yeah.
If you get a mage last pick, someone can explode. You get Urgot Cho'Gath solo lanes, no one's dying.
They did enough damage there as well. You saw the fact that Sword managed to get that solo kill against Smeb. That was